Welcome back to my YouTube channel, or if you're just viewing this video, welcome to my YouTube channel. For today, we're going to see how we can transfer data from one scene to another. So it's more or less like taking data from one scene which is already in play at runtime, and then taking it to the next scene without having to restart the code all over again or something like that. So that is what we'll be looking at today. So what we'll be using are these UI, um, are these um, are these rounded rectangular, um, UI elements. These are what we're going to be using. So you can see I have one for the bottom and one for the top. So it's going to be like a live bar for us, which we're going to put on our scene now. Now what we have to do is go into the hierarchy, right click in my hierarchy and then select UI and go to image. So this is what I would be using, this image. I'm going to go ahead and reset this so it comes to the center, and then I'm going to anchor this. So go to this center middle square, left click on it, and then hold Shift Alt on your computer, and then left click on this top left corner. This way you can see it goes up there, and then when I hit Shift Space, you can see it up at the left top corner. So that is where we're going to anchor it. Now let's take a closer look at the image, and then let's try and increase the size. So let's take it somewhere there and then shrink it to somewhere there. It's a live bar, so it doesn't have to fill the entire screen. I think somewhere around there would do. And then currently I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this image, so I'm going to hit Ctrl D, and for the first one I'm going to name it the base, and the second one is going to be my health. Okay, so this takes care of it. Now for my base, I'm going to take this UI element, this graphic element, to the source image. So right there, and if you haven't done this but then you have the UI elements to do it, which is a simple rectangular rounded rectangle made with Photoshop that I brought inside here. If you have yours to work with, then that would be a relief. You can go ahead and skip this part. But then if you don't have it, all you have to do is select it, come to texture type. It's going to be on default, so change it to sprite UI. Edit some of the settings which you feel would be needed for you, and then finally apply it once all this is done. So if you are satisfied with all of these settings, then you can go ahead and apply it. If not, make sure you edit it before you catch up to me. So right now I'm going to select the health and then drag this to the source image right there. And then for the image type, it's not going to be simple. I'm going to select a field 1, and for my fill method it's going to be horizontal. So for the fill amount, this is what you should keep track of. The fill origin should be from the left, not right. If you put it at the right, then it's going to be like the opposite way. You can see it goes down the other way, from the left to right. But then if you use left, which is the normal health bar we all know, then we can now shrink this, and you can see it follows a nice order of decrease. Now this should take care of my health bar, but then we want a way to indicate that we're in a different scene. So I'm going to still right click on my canvas, go into UI, and then select text. Alright, so for this text now I'm going to increase the size to 30, and then I'm going to increase the size using the rect transform. Place this at the center, so it should be there, and then I'm going to rename this to scene 1. There it is. So I can now anchor this at my top left corner, right corner rather, since the altar bar is on the left. So there it is. So you can see this will identify which scene we're in. And then for the color of the text, we can make it similar to this screen. So just select the picker tool and select this color. You can see changes and they are identical. Finally, we need a button to be able to swap this scene. So let's select a button. And then for this, we're going to anchor it at the bottom middle and also scale this so it can be easy to click on. Normally a button size should not be this big, but then for this tutorial I'm sure you can understand why it is that big. Select the text and hit delete. So this is all we need for our scene 1. Now we need a second scene so we can be able to transition into that. So we're going to go into the project folder, right click, select create, go to scene and rename this to scene 2. Alright, so we want to copy a few of these objects, which is mainly the base, the health, and the text, no button, because we wouldn't be coming back to scene 1 once we move ahead. We're just going to go forward. So Ctrl C to copy, and then save this scene the way it is, and double click on the scene 2 to open up your new scene. And you can see we have an empty scene, so inside our hierarchy we can go ahead and paste this and nothing will appear. That should not be a problem since we don't have a canvas. And so we go into UI and select a canvas. So drag this up top and then copy these 3 and place them inside of the canvas. You can see it appears. Bear in mind, if you also don't have an event system, you can right click, go into UI and select event system. Otherwise the UI is not going to work. So once we create a canvas, it comes with an event system by default. That's one of the updates of Unity. Now for our scene, we need a scene 2. So I'm going to select this and hit 2 over there. For my health, I'm going to change the color of this, and for now you can see it's white. So the only color alternative which we are going to be having is from dark, a bit dark to black. So I'm going to use something around blue because I want this to be darker in our scene 2. So you can see it now goes to black, and if I try to reduce this fill amount, you can see it also gets reduced, and we can identify that these two colors, since these two colors are different, we can identify them. So that will be it. And then for the text, I can also change the color of the text to be identical to this, so that should do it. Now we have 2 scenes which we can use. So the first one is one with button and the second one has no button. So we want to reduce life in the scene 1 and then transition into the scene 2 so that once we do that, the life will be saved to wherever it has been reduced to. So this reduction, we're going to do it by ourselves using a C# script. In this case, we want to right click in our project panel, go into create, select C# and then type the name of the script which you want. So in my case, I'm going to type in health. So that should take care of it, and then I can now right click on this and select open. So I'll see you in Visual Studio. Alright, now inside Visual Studio, what we want to do is we want to first of all copy this using Unity Engine, and then down paste it here, and then add .ui to this. Now we need a few variables before we go further. So first would be a reference to my image, and this is going to be a private variable. So let's type in private, and let's call this image. Image, and this image is going to be my health. So let me call this health image. Right, and next I'm going to have a float. So this would also be this will be a float, but then it's going to be public. This will be a float, and this float is going to be my current health. And then finally, I'm also going to have another float. This would be private, and this should be an integer because it's going to be a whole number, a constant value also. So this would be my full health, and I'm going to set this by default to 100. Okay, so this should be it. Now let's see, inside my start I'm going to make a reference to access my image. So for this I'm going to set my health image. I'm going to set this to be equal to get component. This component is going to be my image. Right, so this I will set to get component image, and then by once this starts I want to set my current health to be equal to my full health. Now this takes care of our start. Inside the update, we want to check to see if we are pressing a certain key, and this key, so it's going to be input dot get key, and this key is going to be my space bar, so this would be key code. Dot space. So if we're pressing the space bar, then we want to decrease our health. So the current health, we want to subtract 5 from this, so let this be 5, and then we want to set the image background or the image top to also reduce. So we will make this current health, let me see, so this health image, now we're also going to reduce this. So we're going to set the health image dot fill amount. We want to set this to be equal to the current health divided by the full health. Yeah, so this takes care of everything regarding the health. We can save this now and go back into Unity. So once this loads, we need to open up our canvas, then select the health, and then drag our script, to the health. There you can see it, it pops this up, which shows our current health, which is a public variable. Now let's play the game to test if this works. So you can see our scene, and then I'm going to press the space bar now. You can see our health goes down. It's being decreased by 5, but there is no way to keep track of it. And the health bar shows, but it doesn't show our current health inside of the console. Inside of the console. So it works generally. Now what we need to do is we need to create a link or a script which would be able to transfer data. We're going to use this script is going to be a singleton. A singleton is a script which cannot be instantiated over and over again like other scripts. So like this script, take for example, I can place it here and then I can drag this script into another game object. It's still going to work, but then the singleton is a single script which moves through scenes, and it holds certain information or data. So right now what we'll do is we'll right click in our project panel, go to create, select C# script, and I'm going to call this script link. Then I will double click this now to open it up in Visual Studio. Now inside our link, what we need is to create a variable which will store this value of our current health. So we're going to go inside our class link and type in public. Let's make this a float. Alright, so this will be a float, and let's call this number. Okay, so since we're testing this game just to see if it works, we're not going to use the update, but normally if you're alive inside of the game, you need to update this variable constantly so that it keeps track of your current health. But right now what we need to do is we need to start a coroutine. So let's start one. So we want to wait for a few seconds and then execute certain methods. So let's call this let's say fix health. Then below the start, you can go ahead and type in I enumerator, and this would be the fix health. Right, so for this fix health, what I want to do now is I want to find set my value of number to be equal to my current health, which is located inside of my health script. So I'm going to find object of type health, just health, and then inside this we want to access my current health. I believe that was the name. Okay, so I'm going to set this number to my current health, and then just to be certain that this actually worked, we want to debug.log. And then let's type in our copied health is, and then the value of number. So this would be plus number. Okay, so this will be our copied health. Of course, we need to wait for a few seconds. So let's type in yield return new, wait 4 seconds, and we're going to wait for roughly about, let's make this 4, right? And then since our copied health is going to show the number inside of our health, whenever we decrease this, we also want to debug.log our current health. So let's say inside of the string, say our current health is, and then we can put in the value for our current health. Alright, so let's save this and go back into the link, and we need to also save this the way it is. But then I haven't really made this singleton yet, so I'm going to do this now before we go further. So when we go into Unity, we just start setting up other things rather than this. Now, for me to do this, what I need is to make this public, static, and this is going to be link, and I'm going to call this instance. So inside of my start method, I'm going to check to see if instance, if this is equal to null. If this is equals to null, then we want to set the instance to be equal to this. That is this script. That is mostly what this stands for. So it's going to refer to the script which you are typing your code inside. And then below this, we also don't want to destroy this game object since it's going to be the link between the two scenes. So let's go ahead and type don't destroy, unload, and what we don't want to destroy is this dot game object. Okay, so with this we have a singleton for this script which would not be destroyed, hopefully. Now we can save this and go back into Unity. So I have an error, type in start coroutine correctly, and then alright, so once this loads, you can now go into your hierarchy, right click on it, and then create an empty game object, rename this to link, and then reset the transform. So drag your link script to it. Okay, so this takes care of it. Now we're going to play the game and then reduce the health and hopefully see if our link works. So let's play our game. It's going to take 4 seconds roughly for, alright, so let's hit spacebar once, twice. Okay, so this should be up to 4 seconds. We can now check our console. So you can see our current health is 95, our current health is 90, 85, and then current health 80. Then you can see our copied health is 80. This is for our link, so it copies our health at 80 after waiting for roughly about 4 seconds or so. So that's just what it will do. Now we want to change the scene with this small amount of data which we've copied. So let's go back into the link script, and inside the link script we want to create a public void which would enable us to swap scenes. So let's call this void swap scene, and then what we want to do is access our scene manager dot load scene, and this scene is going to be 1 by index, and then up top we want to copy this using Unity engine, then add dot scene management to it. Alright, so this takes care of it. So let's save this down and go back into Unity. Okay, so with this done, let's now access our button. Go down to the on click and then drag this link to it and make this method swap scene, so it takes us to our new scene. And then we need to go to our build settings. So let's go into file, build settings, and then drag these two scenes in there. So the sample scene is going to be our first scene with an index value of 0, and then the scene 2 is going to be our second scene with an index value of 1. Okay, so now we have scenes which we can swap. So let's save this current scene and then go into our scene 2, because there is one more thing which we need to clear. So let's go into scene 2. Alright, so inside our scene 2 now we want to create another C# script for it. So right click in the project panel, go into create, select C# script, and for this is going to be let's see, second help. Right, so double click this now to open it up in Visual Studio, or just right click and select open. Alright, so inside of this scene now, what we need is a variable, or let's say a coroutine. So we just delay for a few seconds and then roughly let's say have our health. So for the start coroutine, let's call this set health. And then below the start, let's type I enumerator. Let's call this set health. And we need to wait for a few seconds. So let's type in yield, yield return new wait for seconds, and we're going to wait for, let's say, 2. Alright, so once we wait for 2, then we want to set our fill amount. So it's going to be, this would be using Unity Engine. Let's copy this below, paste this, and then add.ui. And then we want to access an image, so this would be a private image. Okay, so this would be a private image. Let's call this second image. Okay, and then inside the start, just before we start the coroutine, we want the second image to be equal to our image. So let's set this to get component, and this component is going to be our image. Alright, so close this. Now after the set health, then we want to go ahead and set our current image fill amount. So this will be second image dot fill amount, We want to set this to be equal to our current health, which we copied from our game manager, hopefully. So we can make a variable for this. Let's make a simple var. Let's call this, let's say, copied health. And this would be equal to our link dot instance dot number. Okay, so the instance of our link is what we'll copy in there. Now for the fill amount, we want to set the copied health, and then divide this by 100, or we can just make a variable for that. This would be a private variable also. Let's call this a float, and then total health, and set this to be divided by the total health. So this would be it. Now this variable stores the link instance number, which we are supposed to get from our link. That's this number, and then it stores it inside copied health. And for the image fill amount, we need to divide the copied health by our total health. So let's now save this. Now this script is going to be in our second scene on our health bar. So let's go back into Unity. Okay, and we have an error, so non-invocable member. Let's see. Okay, so this should not be used with a bracket after it. So save this. It should just be link instance dot number. Now let's save this and go back. Alright, so you can see everything is okay now except this, which has not been assigned, obviously because the script is currently not there. You can clear this, that should not be a problem. Now find this health and then take this script in there. Okay, so this accesses the image and does all the necessary things it's supposed to do. So we can now save this and then go back to our sample scene. Okay, now hopefully everything should be set. You can now hit the play button and then reduce the health to somewhere there and check to see our copied health is now 70. We can now swap to our new scene. Alright, so there is still a problem. Our copied health is 70. You can see it gets updated, but then this our current health or our health bar is not getting updated for some reason. So let me just check that briefly and then get back to you. Okay, so what we actually missed is our total health. We did not declare that, so if you haven't done that, set this to 100 so that the copied health would have something to be divided by. Otherwise it's going to be divided by 0, which would not update the value. So set this to 100, save and go back into Unity. Okay, so with this downloading, play the game and then decrease the health to a certain extent. Right, so once it's been copied, then we can go into our next scene and you can see our health gets updated, it gets dropped down. So with this, we have successfully transferred data from scene 1 to scene 2, and this is the simple way which you can transfer data from one scene to another. So if you like the video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe so you don't miss more of my content. Thank you for watching this video, and hope I see you in my next video.